Quick questions. Can you remember when a pound used to be actually worth a pound? You know, what is a pound? Is it a measure of weight or is it a measure of value? Well, it used to be a measure of weight and a measure of value, but nowadays it's a measure of absolutely nothing. Really, it's a measure of, what could you say, if not nothing, a measure of energy. That's all it is. We'll get back to that later on, but for now I just want to raise the issue of why is money something that everybody considers to be the most important thing in existence.
Go back to the writings of Ben Franklin, direct quote, "The refusal of King George III to allow the colonies to operate an honest money system which freed the ordinary man from the clutches of the money manipulators was probably the prime cause of the revolution." That's Ben Franklin.
The Federal Reserve does not own any gold at all. We have not owned gold since 1934.
Oligarchs, internet entrepreneurs, new money billionaires are springing up faster than ever before. And with new money come brash new attitudes.
Wealth now doesn't mean 40, 50, 60 million. It means in the billions.
Generation hyper-rich has arrived.
It's kind of blingy and more out there than it used to be. It's like, you've got a 300-foot yacht, oh, but he's got a 500-foot yacht. Now you've got status anxiety.
You have the old money versus the new money. The individuals spending here, there and everywhere on everything bling and everything showy. Billionaires are the new celebrity.
It's such an odd thing for us to see your virtual bank accounts in relationship to your bank accounts. It's just odd that you have all of this leverage and all of this affluence and all of this abundance, and so many of you are just pinching it off by your determination to keep telling it like it is.
The United States was facing severe financial problems. At the turn of the century, most banks were issuing their own currency, called banknotes. The trouble was, currency that was good in one state was sometimes worthless in another. People began to lose confidence in their money, since it was only as sound as the bank that issued it. Fearful that their bank might go out of business, they rushed to exchange their banknotes for gold or silver. By attempting to do so, they created the Panic of 1907.
During the panic, people streamed to the banks and demanded their deposits. The banks could not meet the demand. They simply did not have enough gold and silver coin available. Many banks went under. People lost millions of dollars. Businesses suffered. Unemployment rose, and the stability of our economic system was again threatened.
When you try and work out what money actually is, you never seem to really get to the bottom of what it actually is, because money doesn't really exist.
That is basically true. Humanity is basically working today for free.
Now, that might seem strange for you who are not familiar with the modern day concepts of money or monetary systems or fiat currencies and gold-backed denominations and what have you, but really the reality is that money doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is you and your perception. The only thing that really exists is your perception of reality, and not really even reality itself.
It's very strange, but these pieces of paper that people have so much faith in, if you read them very carefully, they're not promising to give you anything. They used to. When I was young, every dollar bill said on it you could redeem it in silver on demand. Now it just says that it's legal tender for all debts, which means you can't exchange it for anything but more paper. If people lost faith in the paper, the whole system would fall apart.
And just like celebrities, many new money billionaires are not afraid to be seen to be extravagant, and they want grand, iconic toys that scream, "Check me out."
Seems they've checked a box which says yacht or plane or stud farm or mini stately home.
If they have no background of being rich or not the etiquette or the finesse, I think it can become very, very stressful.
Well, there is a disorder now that they've coined, is called acquired situational narcissism. Middle-class people, just like you and me, who become billionaires overnight. They're becoming, obscenely vain and drunk on their own self-importance.
They want to show that they belong. So that's when people start competing amongst, who's got their children at the best schools, who's got the more expensive handbags, who's got the prettier wife, who's got the better looking children, which is an awful thing to say.
And who, of course, has got the most outrageous gin palace on the men.
What is money? Money is just a figment of your imagination. It may as well be a figment or a piece of pigment of your skin, because money is not real, and yet it seems to be what this life is all about. It seems to be what most people strive to possess.
Let's usually just keep the cards, but I'll be having little snacks with me, Snacks, all the pictures that you sent.
Telling it like it is, telling it like it is, telling it like it is, like it is, telling it like it is.
And yet the only thing you can really possess is your own sanity.
I know guys on crack that makes more sense than you.
You trying to get crazy with this, eh? Don't you know I'm loco?
Modern day insanity, limited calamity, all about the money. She wants money. That's what she wants. She's a gold digger. That's what she wants. More money, more money, more money.
Money, 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 always sunny in a rich man's world. All the things I could do if I had a little money. It's a rich man's world. Money, 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 must be funny in a rich man's world.
Trying to get money. That's all we're about. That's the sum of your life, is getting money. That's all. Everything at the end of your life, if you ain't had no money, you ain't doing with your life.
This means that bank loans are not money taken from other bank depositors, but new money simply conjured into existence, and placed into your account. And the bank is able to create much more money than it has cash to back up those deposits. The Fed claims to be the entity overseeing and backing up the banking industry. It was established, according to its own propaganda, to stabilize the system and prevent bank runs like the Panic of 1907 from happening again.
Throughout much of the 1800s, almost any organization that wanted could print its own money. As a result, many states, banks, and even one New York druggist did just that. In fact, at one time, there were over 30,000 different varieties of currency in circulation. Imagine the confusion. Not only were there multitudes of currencies, some were redeemable in gold and silver, others were backed by bonds issued by regional governments. It was not unusual for people to lose faith both in the value of their currency and in the entire financial system. With many people trying to withdraw their deposits at once, sometimes the banks didn't have enough money on hand to pay their depositors. Then, when the funds ran out, the banks suspended payment temporarily, and some even closed. People lost their entire savings, and sometimes regional economies suffered. Obviously, something had to be done, and in 1913, something was. In that year, President Woodrow Wilson signed into effect the Federal Reserve Act. This act created the Federal Reserve System to provide a safer and more stable monetary and banking system.
If that was indeed its aim, it signally failed to do so in running up one of the greatest bubbles in American history to that point in the 1920s, just a decade after its creation. The popping of that bubble, of course, led directly into the Great Depression and one of the greatest periods of mass poverty in American history. Economists have long argued that the Fed itself was the cause of the Depression by its complete mismanagement of the money supply. As former Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke admitted in a speech commemorating Fed critic Milton Friedman's 90th birthday, regarding the Great Depression, "You're right, we did it. We're very sorry. But thanks to you, we won't do it again." Price stability is another cited tenet of the Federal Reserve's mandate. But here, too, the Fed has completely failed to live up to its own standards.
Aside from the banking system, the Federal Reserve has another responsibility that's probably even more important. It's in charge of something called monetary policy. Basically, it means trying to keep prices stable to avoid inflation. Say you buy a CD today for $14. But what if next year the price of the CD jumped to $20 or $50? Not because of a change in supply or demand, but because all prices were going up. That's inflation. There are a lot of different causes of inflation, but one of the most important is too much money. The Fed can adjust the money supply by injecting money into the system electronically or by withdrawing money from the economy. Think of it. The Federal Reserve has the ability to create money and make it disappear. What's most important is what happens as a result. Anytime the supply of money is altered, the effects are felt throughout the economy. The Fed's methods have changed over time to take advantage of the latest computers and electronics, but its mission remains the same: to aim for stable prices, full employment, and a growing economy.
100 years ago, in 1913, the Fed was created, and we've marked it with a vertical line there. Consumer prices now are about 30 times higher than they were when the Fed was created in 1913.
We need to wake up from this illusion that we've been fed, that money is everything, and not give a fuck about people.
Look at Mayweather, look at 50 Cent, look at Jay-Z, look at Beyonce. All these cats, all they really want is to get more and more and more money. But money ain't nothing. Money's nothing. Money is just a figment of your imagination. So if you think about it, in reality, you could do away with money and create your own reality.
For those who think that this is just primarily an angry white male movement, is that if our ancestors would have been armed, they would not have been slaves. That's why people are getting armed. Not so much with firepower. That's not the thing that makes it dangerous. What makes it dangerous is that they're being armed with knowledge. What you're going to see is a growing number of citizens, and you're saying that now, that's why we're here, move away from the authority that is here and begin to create their own constitutional authority. You're going to begin to see this in the resurgence of the common law courts, the formation of the militias. That's what came first to defend ourselves.
Our monetary ignorance is artificial, a smokescreen that has been erected on purpose and perpetrated with the help of complicated systems and insufferable economic jargon. But it doesn't take an economist to understand the importance of money. Deep down, we all know that the wars, the poverty, the violence we see around us hinges on this question of money. It seems like a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle just waiting to be solved. And it is. The puzzle pieces, taken together, create an image of the Federal Reserve, America's central bank, and the heart of the country's banking system. Despite its central importance to the economy, relatively few have heard of it, and fewer still know what it is, despite the bank's attempts at self-description.
Our economy runs on a complex system of exchange of goods and services, in which money plays a key part. Coin, currencies, savings, and checking accounts, the overall supply of money is managed by the Federal Reserve.
There used to be a time when money was backed by something tangible, by something real. Back in the day, 16, 15, 16, 1700s, you had a certain amount of valuable goods, for example, a pound of gold, or a pound of ham, or a pound of sheep, or a pound of wood, or a pound of coal, or a pound of gold, or a pound of silver, or something. And then you could barter that material, that thing, that economic product for another product.
We pick up the story, appropriately enough, under cover of darkness. It was the night of November 22nd, 1910, and a group of the richest and most powerful men in America were boarding a private rail car at an unassuming railroad station in Hoboken, New Jersey. The car, waiting with shades drawn to keep onlookers from seeing inside, belonged to Senator Nelson Aldrich, the father-in-law of billionaire heir to the Rockefeller dynasty, John D. Rockefeller Jr. A central figure on the influential Senate Finance Committee where he oversaw the nation's monetary policy, Aldrich was referred to in the press as the general manager of the nation. Joining him that evening was his private secretary Shelton, and a who's who of the nation's banking and financial elite. A. Pyatt Andrew, the Assistant Treasury Secretary, Frank Vanderlip, President of the National City Bank of New York, Henry P. Davison, a senior partner of J.P. Morgan Company, Benjamin Strong Jr., an associate of J.P. Morgan and president of Bankers Trust Co., and Paul Warburg, heir of the Warburg banking family and son-in-law of Solomon Loeb of the famed New York investment firm Kuhn, Loeb and Company. The men had been told to arrive one by one after sunset to attract as little attention as possible. Indeed, secrecy was so important to their mission that the group did not use anything but their first names throughout the journey so as to keep their true identity secret even from their own servants and waitstaff. The movements of any one of them would have been reason enough to attract the attention of New York's voracious press, especially in an era where banking and monetary reform was seen as a key issue for the future of the nation. A meeting of all of them, now that would surely have been the story of the century. And it was. Their destination? The secluded Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia, home to the prestigious Jekyll Island Club whose members included the Morgans, Rockefellers, Warburgs, and Rothschilds. Their purpose? Davison told intrepid local reporters who had caught wind of the meeting that they were going duck hunting. But in reality, they were going to draft a reform of the nation's banking industry in complete secrecy. G. Edward Griffin, the author of the best-selling The Creature from Jekyll Island and a longtime Federal Reserve researcher, explains.
What happened is that the banks decided that since there was going to be legislation anyway to control their industry, that they wouldn't just sit back and wait and see what happened and cross their fingers that it would be okay. They decided that to do what so many cartels do today, they decided to take the lead, and they would be the ones calling for regulations and reform. They like the word reform, and American people are suckers for the word reform. You just put that into any corrupt piece of legislation, call it reform, and people say, oh, I'm all for reform, and so they vote for it or accept it. So that's what they were doing. They decided we will reform our own industry. In other words, we will create a cartel, and we will give the cartel the power of government. We'll take our cartel agreement so that we can self-regulate to our advantage, and we'll call it the Federal Reserve Act. And then we'll take this cartel agreement to Washington and convince those idiots there to pass it into law. And that basically was the strategy. It was a brilliant strategy. Of course, we see it happening all the time, and certainly in our own day today, we see the same thing happening in other cartelized industry. Right now, we're watching it unfold in the field of healthcare, but at that time, it was banking, all right? And so the banking cartel wrote their own rules and regulations, called it the Federal Reserve Act, got it passed into law, and it was very much to their liking because they wrote it. And it was very much to their liking because they wrote it. And it was very much to their liking because they wrote it.
The Federal Reserve banking cartel, banks in general, the people running the banks, I have to give them credit. They destroyed our currency, our money, and, plunged our economy into hell.
In December 1977, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York published another of its dumbed-down cartoon-ridden information pamphlets for the general public, attempting to explain the functions of the Federal Reserve System. There, in black and white, they carefully explain the money creation process. Commercial banks create checkbook money whenever they grant a loan, simply by adding new deposit dollars to accounts on their books in exchange for a borrower's IOU. Banks create money by monetizing the private debts of businesses and individuals. That is, they create amounts of money against the value of those IOUs. There it is, in plain English. The vast majority of money in the economy, the checkbook money in our accounts at the bank and that we use in our electronic transfers and digital payments, is created not by a government printing press, but by the bank itself. It is created out of thin air as debt, owed back to the bank that created it at interest.
Like if you look at a pound coin today, if you look at a pound note today, or a £10 note or a £20 note, you'll see that it says, I promise to pay the bearer the sum of £10. Now, that reflects to a day where that used to be £10 of flesh or £10 of silver or £10 of gold, and it used to be backed by some tangible, physical product. But today, the reality is that a pound is backed by absolutely nothing.
So you'd literally get girls coming up to the car and being like, hey, like, what are you doing, kind of thing.
I've seen one red Lamborghini have a number written on in lipstick on the windscreen.
I'm friends with a few of the supercar owners, and they do appreciate kind of the attention they get from girls.
I think the car is pretty good looking, very aggressive, so I like showing it around.
We have Maseratis, we have McLarens, we have a Camaro, we have a GTR. We can show off as much as we like, create some noise.
All the toys here are top end, so when your Ferrari just isn't cutting the mustard, what are you going to do? Well, like Riyadh here, you have it painted gold, of course.
It's quite expensive, but it's cool. Finishing was amazing, so I just love it.
Not the shyest of multimillionaires, Riyadh just likes to see his golden gas guzzler fawned over by the adoring masses.
It's cool. I like seeing people smiling, entertaining people when they see the gold, so it's awesome, you know.
And if anyone were to suggest it's perhaps just a little bit over the top.
I'm 5-time world champion in kickboxing. I'm originally from Iraq, but I live in London. You know?
These tricked out me machines have become bigger celebrities than their multi-millionaire owners. Trending online is the Tron Lamborghini. And putting the austere in steering wheel, the velvet Ferrari.
You do see a lot of personalised cars that have their own initials in the headrest, they have their initials on the car, and they really make it their own car.
I had it wrapped and detailed exactly as I wanted. It was originally silver, but I had it done white with like the black and red detailing and the wheels and all that. Brand new, it was just over 100 grand, but now it's probably about half that.
Oops, even for the super wealthy, spending heaps of money to make your car less sellable, but you more attractive, well, it's an expensive way to go about the mating game. And not everyone is after a kiss and a £250,000 lift home. Billionaires beware, British bobbies and their weapons of mass humiliation. The annual Harrods Grand Prix is formula fun for the billionaire boy racers. The only trouble is the Sloane Street Straight isn't really a racetrack. Never mind, should polish out. Perhaps take the chance to get it plated platinum whilst you're at it.
As we watch our lives be sacrificed, we're experimented on, we're overworked, sick. I mean, while somebody else gets money off of all that suffering. Some people will say, man, you seem like you're against money. I'm not against money. I'm against the illusion that's been created based on money. I'm against the inhumanity that has been shown throughout history based on this money. I'm against the motherfuckers at the top throwing away them 19 motherfucking apples and somebody else is dying of starvation. That's what the fuck I'm against.
I think the human race has chosen to organize itself poorly. I think we were given great gifts. We were given this supposable thumb, the ability to walk upright, binocular vision, and the mind that could distinguish between the objective and the subjective. And we have been diverted with toys and gizmos from our lives being stolen from us in this country.
So, let's go back to school. At school, they never ever really ever teach us about money. I can remember no classes whatsoever in English, no classes in maths, no classes in economics, no classes in physics, no classes in geography, no classes in chemistry, no classes in any subject whatsoever that teaches or taught us the fundamental aspects or the fundamental processes or the fundamental qualities of what money actually is.
The church doesn't like for people to grow up because you can't control grown-ups. That's why we talk about being born again. When you're born again, you're still a child. The people don't need to be born again. They need to grow up. They need to accept their responsibility for themselves and the world.
no, that's something strange. There's something weird there. Money is the root cause of all the disasters in the world. Money is the be-all and end-all of everything for most people in the face of the world. And yet money doesn't really even exist. Now, this is not some kind of clip from the Twilight Zone or something. This is a real substantive topic. Money is not real. You think about it. What do you have back in your money? Do you have £50 worth of gold, or 50 pounds in gold, or an ounce of gold even? No, you don't. All you have is your signature. The only thing that money's worth is your signature, and what your signature really denotes is your intention to honor your vow to pay in energy and in work for the services or the goods that you're about to or you wish to receive.
Why? Put it in gold, my friends. Here, this is the answer. I'm going to show you the answer. It's right here. Gold bullion. Right here. I'm holding it in my hands. You see that? Gold bullion. This is the answer. Screw the banks.
More than a week after India suddenly banned its largest banknotes, the queues at banks still snake down the street. They're hoping to exchange old notes for replacement currency, but the new money has been slow to reach many. The ban on 500 and 1,000 rupee notes is part of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's effort to flush out tax evaders and other criminals who use cash to store ill-gotten gains. But the move has led India's economic life to slow. Technicians still need to manually calibrate tens of thousands of ATMs to the new bills. Sales at some cash-based businesses like mom-and-pop stores and restaurants have come to a standstill. Vegetable traders and farmers who operate on cash have had to let food spoil. Some are slashing prices and offering credit to survive. If the cash crunch continues for much longer, analysts say India's short-term economic growth could suffer. The Indian Prime Minister asked for patience during the transition to a new currency.
50 din meri madad kare.
The banned 500 and 1,000 rupee bills are the largest notes in India, worth about $7.50 and $15. They represent the vast majority of the value of all Indian currency in circulation.
This was supposed to be a good year for India's 260 million farmers. After years of drought, they got rain. But then Prime Minister Narendra Modi took 85% of the country's cash out of circulation in an effort to stamp out corruption. Now time is running out for farmers to plant their winter crops, but they're stuck with empty fields because they have no cash to buy supplies. Experts say that Modi's cash crackdown is hitting rural communities hardest. Reuters' Mayank Bardwaj reports from a farming village on the outskirts of New Delhi.
Farmers will find it difficult to buy inputs like seeds and fertilizer. Productivity will fall, production will fall, rural demand will fall, people will face hardship. That's going to last for a while, perhaps for another 6 months. Practically, the government can't do anything about it at the moment.
Authorities were supposed to rush new 500 and 2,000 rupee notes into circulation, but that's been delayed. They've also taken some emergency measures to get money from banks to farmers. But experts say it's not much help because there simply aren't many banks in the countryside. Meanwhile, farmers are struggling to get by.
Our lives are a lot harder now that there's less cash in circulation. Not many shops accept card payments, and we have to scramble to find a way of supporting ourselves day to day.
Farmers say they can't afford to wait the season out, planning to plant later when the cash comes in. Experts warn this means that India's key winter wheat harvest is going to take a hit, along with farmers' incomes.
But if you stop, if all of us stop, not just you, not just me, if all of us stop, we got the power then. If we just sit back, put our feet up like they do. Just sit back, put your feet up, and just chill like they do. The whole world will change.
And that's all it is. Everything else is just a sham. It's just a joke. It's just a scheme. It's just a scam to fool you and cajole you into a system of subservience. Think about it. Nowadays, physical money doesn't even need to really exist. What I mean by physical money is coins and notes and stuff. And they're even, in terms of the New World Order, they're planning to do away with physical money. So cash will soon be a thing of the past. There are many experiments in many places and parts of the world where they're right now today doing a project where they're doing away with a cash society or cash-rich society. In fact, in the year 2016, approaching 2017, only 3% of money is actually physical. The other 90% of money or monetary value is actually digital.
Forget about pulling out your wallet to pay. Now you can use your cell phone instead.
App developers are trying to come up with technology that would allow people to pay their bills and pay merchants using their phones rather than using credit cards. All right, this is super interesting because app developers believe that your phone will replace your wallet by 2015. Merchants such as Starbucks, they have this new app where instead of using a Starbucks card, you just download this app on your phone, you put money into the app, and then you go to Starbucks and you let them.
The day when you forget your wallet and it doesn't seem to matter is here. If you're only concerned with coffee, that is. Starbucks customers with certain mobile devices can now buy their coffee with the wave of a smartphone.
Parking in New York City may soon be as easy as a few taps on your cell phone.
But now there's an app for that, Pay by Phone. Here on Arthur Avenue in the Bronx, Renato Quadrado's parking woes of dealing with receipts and coins and sometimes broken meters are now made simpler, using his cell phone to pay for a spot. Once you sign up for an account, you provide your license plate number and your credit card information. Your license plate number and your credit card information.
It wasn't too long ago when food trucks could only take cash.
It's a game changer for us because we can now accept all forms of payment. It takes every credit card, and people don't carry a lot of cash.
And now Square has made it even easier for people to pay.
What up, Jim?
Just by telling the cashier your name.
What's your name?
Users need to download the Pay with Square app and go through the setup. From there, a cashier knows you're a legitimate paying customer.
There you are.
Because your name and photo pop up on the other end. Name and photo pop up on the other end. Starbucks' announcement that it will be using Square in 7,000 of its U.S. stores will accelerate the movement toward a walletless society. A walletless society.
Going forward, at some point, we may be able to leave our wallet at home because we're going to have all of the information in the wallet, on our smartphone.
With the new generation of smartphones, we'll soon be paying for goods and services with our cell phones.
Smartphones are gradually becoming able to do everything, including functioning like a digital wallet. You can even use a smartphone to pay for a train ticket. It's fast and it's easy.
Until now, I only used my cell phone for text messages, and I'm amazed at how efficiently this works. But I worry about having all my private information on the cell phone, and I wonder where it would all end up if I lost it.
Forget about cash or numbers or student ID cards. 3 New Mexico schools were about to start using something in their cafeterias that you would associate more with the Department of Homeland Security: palm scanners.
At a lot of schools across the country, this is how kids are now paying for lunches. A quick swipe of their hand called palm vein scanning.
A new technology called Pulse Wallet syncs your credit card to the palm of your hand. Using a biometric palm reader, this cardless payment service allows you to pay by simply scanning your veins.
When you're going to pay in a supermarket, you enter your 4 last digits in your phone number, and then you hold your hand above the sensor. And a transaction takes less than 5 seconds. So it's a very quick payment solution.
I think it's really good. It's easy when I don't have my wallet with me. I can use my hand, so it's really fast and easy.
Forgotten your wallet? Don't carry cash? Not a problem. A supermarket chain in the north of France has gotten over all these things by introducing biometric payments. All you need is your finger.
We don't need to get our card out, we don't need to fear it being stolen either, given that this system is personalized.
To let customers pay without using debit cards, credit cards, or even cash. NBC Action News reporter Amy Hawley takes an in-depth look at this controversial technology.
Have you ever gone shopping or loaded up your cart with food or clothing and then get to the checkout line and find out you've left your wallet in the car? Well, tonight we'll show you the technology that makes it simple to just touch and go.
You'll be able to buy anything from bread to beer if you agree to give the store your ultimate identity.
Once you have your groceries scanned, now what do? You punch in your PIN number, touch your index finger to the image reader, and you've paid in about 3 seconds, all with the touch of your fingertips.
So now we live in a digital age, surrounded by digital finance, and everything, I mean absolutely everything, is done with a computer. So when you go into a bank, or when you go to a money lender, or when you go to a shop, or you go to purchase something, all you're really purchasing is a digital signature, not even a real signature. And that's quite worrying. Or maybe it's not worrying, maybe it's liberating. Maybe it represents a potential opportunity to do away with this old, crooked, wicked system of finance and capitalism and white supremacy. Maybe it represents an opportunity to be done with it, because it is really absolutely farcical. We're living in a system which is generated or governed by a regime which is backed by absolutely nothing apart from people's words. And we know a poor man will usually always honor his word, and the rich men, the bankers, the politicians, the economists, the lawyers, they don't really give a fluff about their word, because all their words are just words. Yet your word could be your honor and could be your bond. And many poor people would rather die than lose their word, or break their word, or break their bond, because money was originally based on a base system. That's why a lot of poor people tend to honor their debts. Like myself, if I owe somebody some money, I need to really pay my debts, because I don't feel comfortable owing somebody money. And yet, the whole world that we live in is based on a debtor system.
Money, 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 always on me, in a rich man's world.
Money in the modern world is just pure information. It's as abstract as information in cybernetic theory. Which brings up the question, how come people get to charge interest on distributing information?
Getting down to the heart of the subject of the matter, money. And it doesn't really represent anything real or tangible. That's pretty strange. That's pretty hardcore. That's pretty radical. That's pretty ugly. It's not pretty at all. It's just quite devastating, because now you can just give your signature, receive a car. You can give your signature, receive a house. You can give your signature and receive goods and services. You can give your signature and receive almost everything. And nowadays, you don't even need, when it comes down to the actual factual matters of the story, you don't even need a physical signature. Nowadays, all you need is a digital signature. Imagine that. These people are busy constructing a new digital world around us, replacing the old world, but they're not giving us any opportunity, not giving us a choice, not giving us a chance to break free from the shackles of history, to break free from the shackles of this debacle called the modern monetary system. Get back down to the heart of the matter. When have you ever learnt about money? What have you ever learnt about money? Apart from people kill for it, people rob for it, people die for it, people steal for it, people go to war for it, people invade nations and countries and kill family members for it. But what have we actually learnt about it? That money is the root of all evil, or money is the root of all chaos and confusion. Well, what do you know about money? You know as much as the next man, which is absolutely nada. Because if you understood that money isn't really real, you wouldn't feel the need to steal. If you understood that money wasn't really actually anything at all other than a perception, other than a projection, then you wouldn't do all that stuff that you do for it. If you understood that the only real value in this life is your imagination and your perception and your energy, then you would perhaps save some of that energy for you and for yours, and for the preservation of your favorite people. You think about that. This is just a snippet of an introduction into the reality or the falsity or the illusion of money. I hope you can take this opportunity to check out some of the stuff and some of the fluff I'm saying, and know that I ain't playing, and check out what money really is for yourself. This is me. No, it's not me. It's you. Saying peace, and I'm out.
If all of us stop, not just you, not just me, all of us stop, we got the power to. We just sit back, put our feet up like they do. Just sit back, put your feet up, and just chill like they do. The whole world will change.